Hey guys, it's Kelly and welcome back to the Planner Project. We are jumping in with my January 2018 plan with me, so I guess we should kick things off by saying Happy New Year! For today, we're diving into my January spreads. I am still so very new to this, so please bear with me. I think it's safe to say that my theme for this month is arrows and learning how to fix Bujo mistakes. I definitely made a lot of mistakes this time around. This title page is actually my second attempt. I ended up having to rip a page out of my bullet journal, which made me so very sad, but I knew it would drive me crazy if the very first official page of kicking off the new year was one I absolutely hated, so I made a second attempt, which still isn't amazing. I am not that artistic and trying to get better all the time. But I'm new to this and I wanted something I was going to like and be able to enjoy when looking back over my bullet journal when it was finished. So I let myself rip at a page this one time, or at least that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. So I'm kicking things off with a calendar view of the month of January. I just went through and did some 5x5 boxes. I wish I'd done them bigger, but I wasn't really sure. And honestly, I don't really have a lot of date type events. It's mostly day-to-day scheduling that I need to worry about. So for now, I just figured small boxes would kick things off and I can adjust in the future if I need to. For all of the time I spent planning out what I was going to do once I was finally able to jump into my bullet journal, I was still left feeling pretty unprepared once it was time to actually get down to it and do all of my spreads, so I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. There were so many possibilities and it's hard to know what to start with, so I was just kind of going with what I thought would make sense and seemed safe and kind of hoping for the best at this point. Even though I'm new to the world of bullet journaling, I do actually have a second bullet journal that I'm going to be using throughout 2018 as well, specifically for writing projects because that is my main job at this point, and I am going to have a lot more deadlines over in that bullet journal. So on that one, the calendar view is going to be a lot more important. For this one, I figured I would keep it simple and small and just kind of see if I need to adjust it later, but for now, this is definitely going to be enough to keep me going through the end of January. The journal that I'm using here is the Leuchtturm 1917, and the pen is a manuscript Kali Creative Italic. I'm not entirely sure which one of those is the brand name. It was a Christmas present. I am really enjoying that particular set of pens though, and hopefully that'll encourage me to try out actual script lettering that doesn't look like a disaster at some point in the future. At this point, I'm the first one to admit that my handwriting is really terrible, but I'm hoping by the end of the year I'll be able to look back on January and think, wow, I've come so far. I'm doing so much better at this now, because right now it's kind of a disaster. I've always been kind of embarrassed about how bad my handwriting is, so I really do want to work on it throughout 2018. If you guys have any suggestions for things that you found have worked well in addition to the actual daily layout on your monthly spreads, I would love to hear them. I'd like to make more use of this page, but I'm not really sure what makes the most sense. I did end up adding a tasks because I do have a few things generally that I need to finish at some point during the month, but that doesn't really have a specific date. This is something I'm going to be using more for weekly spreads, but I did want to give myself the option of having some monthly tasks as well. I don't think there'll be a ton, but better to be safe than sorry and give myself the space. I'm also adding some arrow washi tape in here because I went a little nuts on AliExpress once I figured out what my January theme was going to be. I've also already bought my February washi tape, but I figure I'm going to be using a lot of this instead of trying to draw things out, which is usually what results in me ripping pages out of my journal because I hate what I've drawn. Next up, I went through and added a few things that I want to remind myself to focus on throughout the month of January, just kind of things that I will always see whenever I look back at this calendar view. I need to find a new routine, put 2017 behind me to the best of my ability, and start as I mean to continue, in that I always do really well in terms of productivity in January because I love the fresh start, but I need to kind of jump in a way that I can maintain and keep going with throughout the year. I finished the spread up with some drop shadows and a quote. I only have two Tombow pens at this point. One is black and the other is this kind of mint blue, so that is going to be my secondary color throughout the month of January, and then I think I'll let myself buy one new pen every month to kind of go along with each new month and new theme, and then kind of see how that goes until I can have enough money to splurge on a bunch of Tombow pens, because I do really like them. They've been a lot of fun so far. I haven't quite learned how to not smudge them, but I am enjoying having the two options for brush sizes. So yeah, I went with a quote that I just kind of found on Pinterest. Dreams and dedication are a powerful combination. William Longgood. I think that is a pretty good note to start the new year out on. I suspect at some point soon I'm going to start a bullet journal spread just for hoarding quotes that I want to use later. I am such a sucker for inspirational quotes and just positive sayings, so I'm going to be putting as many of those into my bullet journal as I can possibly manage. I did add in a little arrow here just because, and then jumped into my next spreads, which are going to be my habit tracker. I am so excited about that one. And then kind of an ideal schedule. I have seen some people using that at the beginning of a bullet journal before their monthlies, but I figured it's something I might want to adapt every month. At this point, I noticed that my camera was dying, so I decided to turn it off for a little bit and just finish these up because I was running over anyway. And this ended up being another example of Kelly makes all the mistakes. So those 2 pages that you saw me draw out are actually ended up getting taped together so I could start fresh, but I am pretty happy with the final result. It just took me a couple tries to get there. I promise I will get better at letting myself make mistakes, but for now this is just kind of learning as I'm going. So there are my final habit tracker, an ideal schedule, and a weekly's habit tracker, things I need to do once a week for the next 5 weeks, and then I threw in 2 final spreads of things I used to track in a spreadsheet but wanted to put in my bullet journal instead, new movies I've watched and TV seasons I've watched so I can look back at the end of the year and kind of remember. That's it for me today. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will be back with info on my writing journal very, very soon.